I'm Brian Labby in the CBC Calgary studio. Canola producers and farmers are feeling a bit uneasy and uncertain as China prepares to slap Canada with another punishing canola tariff. Prices are already taking a hit, and the news comes just weeks before harvest. Helen Pike has our top story.
This is not the news Leroy Newman wanted to hear as he preps for the upcoming harvest.
We're on a track to get out of 3 years of drought. We're on a track to make some money this year. Canola's a Cinderella this year because grains are falling and pulses are falling in price, but canola's been staying pretty steady. It was our win. Like, we try to hedge our bet, and this was going to be our win. And now it's slowly dwindling every day.
China announcing a new duty on Canadian canola imports. The 75.8% provisional rate comes into effect later this week. The Canadian Canola Growers Association says China is one of the industry's biggest trading partners.
We're effectively shut out effective August 14th. So, it is not good news. Overnight, the markets reacted extremely badly. We lost about $1 a bushel, which is, equates to about 7% of our income from canola.
These duties stem from results of an anti-dumping probe. According to Reuters, China's Ministry of Commerce found Canada's agricultural sector benefited from substantial government subsidies and preferential policies.
Yeah, we're very disappointed to hear about China's tariffs on canola, and we're just in the process of formulating our response to that, but obviously we disagree with those tariffs.
This is just the latest escalation in the trade dispute with China, which began with Ottawa's tariffs on Chinese electric vehicle imports last August. Alberta's Minister of Agriculture and Irrigation says this calls for urgent federal intervention. Alberta's farmers, ranchers, and processors did not create this situation, yet they are paying the price. Canola farmers like Leroy Newman also feel like a bargaining chip in a trade war not of their making.
The good old farmers, we just have to take one for the team every time, and it's tiresome.
Helen Pike, CBC News, Calgary.
For more on China's decision to slap a preliminary duty on Canadian canola, I'm joined by Gordon Holden. He's the Director Emeritus of the China Institute at the University of Alberta. Gordon, thanks so much for taking time. So first question, some canola producers say this has nothing to do with canola. It's all politics. Do you agree?
I think that's largely the case. I mean, China also has its own protectionist instincts when it comes to its own domestic production, but this is, I think, pretty transparently retaliation for the ongoing trade disputes and even political disputes between Beijing and Ottawa. So it fits right in that mold. It's the third canola commodity that's been tariffed heavily beginning in 2024. Now this topping things up, and it really cuts at the core of our agricultural exports from the prairies to China.
So are farmers being used as pawns in this skirmish?
Well, I think they end up being pawns. I don't think that in the case of the government of Canada, they necessarily wish them to be pawns, but China is quite sophisticated in choosing its targets. When we hit one of their premier exports with 100% duty, that is their electric vehicles, it wouldn't be rocket science for the Chinese embassy in Ottawa to figure out what are the exports that are going to China that are potentially vulnerable. China will have checked that there are alternative sources. That's largely true, although it won't be easy for China to replace the volume of imports from Canada of canola products.
Okay, we've obviously seen a deterioration in Canada's relationship with China. How would you characterize it right now?
Well, perhaps it come off the bottom, but from a very low bottom. I've worked on this relationship for over 30 years, and the place it reached during the period of the two Michaels and Meng Wanzhou, it was scraping along the bottom with also very negative public and media views of China. There was some signs of a partial recovery, some high-level contacts between our Prime Minister and the Chinese Premier, between foreign ministers. Things seem to be trending somewhat more positively. And the comments from the Chinese ambassador, for example, I had a chance to meet with him earlier this year in Ottawa, and he was more forthcoming and positive. But these economic blows really hurt because economics, trade are really the core of the relationship, given the political relationship is pretty frail. This one will really hurt, and it will hurt a key sector and key provinces.
Okay, so today we've seen the provincial UCP government in Alberta, along with the federal Conservatives, blaming Mark Carney for this. What options does the federal government have at this point?
No great options. There are options. For example, we could simply eliminate the 100% tariff on Chinese EVs. Now, you'd want to do that with some negotiation or some discussion, expecting a quid pro quo for that. However, given that we're already in the midst of extremely damaging U.S. tariffs and about to face the renewal of the CUSMAC free trade agreement next year, this would expose us to yet more American wrath. Quite frankly, if we're now into an era of high tariff world, for a country that is so export dependent like Canada, there aren't a lot of really great options for us. In this case, I don't think that China wants to restrict Canadian exports to China of canola indefinitely, but they are using their leverage. They're using it perhaps quite effectively, especially if they can divide Canadian opinion and governmental opinion in this country.
Okay, Gordon, we'll obviously watch to see how this plays out. Thank you very much.